I'm gonna just roll with it.
Thank you for your patience. Our next item of business is item number 7, a Finance Committee update. Council member Carolyn Keegley and Debbie Sanchez. Thank you.
Okay, so Debbie, up. I need Debbie up. So we made some
Finance
decisions,
Committee
we made
update.
some decisions in our closed sessions.
No, we didn't make any decisions in the closed session.
We heard some
Guidance,
We
yes,
heard
some
some
guidance.
information, so I really need help on what to say for the financial committee. Basically, we looked at the only item that we discussed in the financial committee was the fiscal year 2025-26 tentative budget discussion. And so everything that we discussed at that meeting was in our packets. And now, Debbie.
Yes. So there were some changes from that budget that we presented to the Finance Committee to this one. And so a couple of, I can discuss a couple of changes that we had in there, and that was that Kearns did approve 2 new officers and a full-time, another full-time crime analyst position. So that got added in between the PBIM to the tentative. And also the district attorney's office is requiring that we have a training sergeant that will be funded by the district attorney's office. So we will get revenue from the district attorney's office for that. So that revenue is also, that cost and that revenue is also shared among all the members. So it kind of, it's a zero net effect to everyone. So that changed the numbers a little bit as well. But we've also got another issue that we need to look at. And so that's why we're requesting, I don't know if this is where I would tell you that we're requesting that the tentative budget be tabled for today and then approved at a later date in May.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, it's not, the correct term would not be tabling because that would require additional motion, but we are
Sorry.
on the advice of our council, I'll make a motion to postpone the public hearing on the public budget, to have it renoticed according to law, and to consider the tentative budget at a special board meeting that will be held probably before the end of May, so within the next 2 weeks. And the reason for this, really, I don't think it's a secret, is that our formula has, with respect to what the member fee for UPD services is typically calculated on a 3-year rolling average of calls for services or cases, and that was not incorporated into this tentative budget, so that needs to be done. Debbie's recalculating those numbers, and we'll be submitting those to us and our finance directors ASAP. But because of that, there will be some minor changes to what each member entity pays. It'll actually smooth out the fees that we pay, as opposed to having more abrupt increases based upon the track record in the last year. So for that reason, I make a motion to postpone these matters.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Can I just ask a quick question? I was sent some information that says the statute reads on or before the first regularly scheduled meeting of the governing body in the last May of the current period, the budget officers shall prepare and file within the governing body a tentative budget for each fund which a budget is required. So does that language change anything? Because it does seem to indicate the first meeting in May, not a second special meeting.
Right. And I don't know that we could say we presented it, other than, as you stated, Mayor Silvestrini, that we're postponing it.
Yeah, so the legal requirement is that we have a tentative budget by the end of May. And that the more significant thing that we'd be concerned about is actually providing adequate public notice of a public hearing to discuss that tentative budget. That's the key thing that we need to worry about.
And I think that's
providing notice.
I agree. That's the most important thing, but I also just want to make sure that statute, does say file with the governing body. So I don't know if putting the tentative budget that we're not adopting today satisfies that requirement to file with the governing body. Doesn't necessarily say it needs to be passed, but it does say,
I've understood that once the tentative is adopted, it needs to be public for 30 days before final adoption. So anytime in May, I would thought, as long as we don't adopt it within 30 days in June.
And I'm not sure about the word file, whether that means if file is by actually presenting it to the board or just that you've had it and have decided to postpone it. So
I guess,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
the
if
legal-
that's obviously a legal determination, so
Yeah,
maybe Harry can weigh in.
We've
on
got a
that.
legal review going on right now.
Okay.
Because it has
And
been
this is a good
filed. It's
point,
part of
yeah.
our packet, okay? I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Right.
been made public. It's just we're not adopting it today.
And while Harry works on that, it doesn't change the whole picture and the numbers as we got in our
Correct.
packet. It's just distributing between the members.
correct.
I'm just wondering if it's as if we're not considering a tentative budget here today at all because of the reasons that you mentioned. So does that satisfy the legal requirement? I would just, again, I agree with Mayor Silvestrini. The important thing is to make sure that the public has this information correctly, but I
I
would-
can present it, but I mean, you know, I can present what the final numbers are, and then just make you aware that the calculation for each member will change once that 3-year average for cases is calculated. So whatever the board is comfortable with, or until Harry,
I think yeah, that's.
I'm
fine.
comfortable
something.
with whatever Harry says next.
okay.
Give me just a minute. Apologies.
I guess if there was an issue, you could adopt it because the overall budget is not changed. It's just the internal allocation. We change those within our budget process all the time. As through the course of our presentation, we have a tentative budget, and then what we
Right.
actually adopt
Have the
is
final.
Yeah,
different.
we could adopt the tentative budget
Sure.
today and then amend the tentative budget at a special meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
I'm in-
So interestingly, the way the statute reads, it has to be filed with the board. And it doesn't provide for approving the tentative budget. It just says filed with. What I would suggest is that we then go forward with the public hearing. And my apologies for not having read this. Again, this came up at 5 o'clock last night, so I'm sorry. But it does say shall be filed with the board and presented and filed with the board in the first regularly scheduled meeting in May. With that in mind, the budget numbers don't change, but the allocation will. We're still going to get the allocation out to you in the next few days. We still will need a special board meeting to approve another matter that will come before the board at that time. And we can discuss the allocation numbers so you know those as soon as possible anyway. So I guess my feeling is because the budget numbers don't change, we present the budget at this time. And in fact, it doesn't even provide a role for the board approving or not approving the tentative budget. It just said it must be filed and presented. So with that in mind, I think we go forward with the filing and presenting of the final budget numbers, knowing the allocation formula will change, but not the numbers, at least for now. And we do that. So I appreciate the catch. Sorry that in light of the short time period we had to deal with this, that we didn't. But what we'll do is move forward with this as the statute reads: present, file, have a public hearing on the numbers, and then know the allocation formula will be corrected as to how the members pay for those numbers. But the budget itself is ready to go, even with the allocation formula needing to be changed.
So I think we did have a motion and a second. So now I think we should.
I would ask
Remove
the
the
person who moved it at my suggestion to withdraw their motion.
I will withdraw the motion.
And again, my apologies for this.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to item number 8, which is adopt a tentative budget, which will require a public hearing today. Debbie.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the tentative budget.
Second, Gettle.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Angie, if you'll go to the second page, or actually, that is the, there, so Mayor Gettle, there we go. Oh, the second, yeah, there, no, back. Oh, okay. There we go. So to Mayor Gettle's point, I actually put it in the presentation that it's required by Utah State Code to submit to the directors a tentative budget for the upcoming fiscal year, the first regularly scheduled meeting in May. So that we will do. Thank you. Go to the next page, Angie. So there are our board of directors and council member or board member McCallum. I hope one day we can get a picture for you so we can, unless you like that one. That's okay. All right. Okay, go to the next one, Angie. So for the organization, the changes that we have made from last year, we have added 4 new sworn positions, 1 in professional services training and 3 in Kearns. The 2 of the ones that are in Kearns will be paid for by the city of Kearns. And then the sworn position in professional services training is a position that was converted from a civilian position because of the retirement of one of the civilians. And because we will be moving to the new building, we felt that that position would not be needed. We've also added 3 sworn positions in the following precincts. We have an officer in the investigations DV fraud forgery unit. We have a new officer in the Brighton precinct, and we have the training sergeant for the DA office, which will be funded by the DA office, which I referred to earlier. And then we did increase a civilian position by 1. We did have the retirement of 1 civilian position, and then we had hired during the year a new licensed clinical social worker. So they offset each other. That worker is being funded by Mill Creek and Holiday at 67% and 33% respectively. And then the new position is a full-time crime analyst that was approved by Kearns, by the city of Kearns, and they will be funding that position. And then during the year, we did add a part-time janitor last July in Magna that was not on the organization chart last year. So that's been added in as well. So for the overall organization, the current restructured UPD, we have 266 sworn. We are now moving up to 273, which is an increase of 7 positions. In the civilian position, we had 68. We've increased that to 69, which is 1. And then in the part-time, we had 7 and now is 8. And that is an increase of 1. So total, we've gone from 341 to 350 with an increase of 9. We also have our crossing guards. We had 151.5 last year. We've got 160 this year. So that's an increase of 8.5. And then we do have UFA swap medic temps. We had 8 last year and we've got 8 this year. Okay. And then there's the overall organization chart, and I do have on there in red highlights where the changes were made throughout the chart. So if you want to review that at your leisure, you can look at that then. And then going to the next page, this is the employee changes by department. So you can see in the shared service changes where the changes were made in the sworn and civilian. We've had a fleet forever, and we've got 2 positions in there, 1 sworn and 1 civilian. And so we wanted to make sure that they were in the presentation this year. And then of course, Mill Creek has, where they're paying for that 67% for that licensed clinical social worker, Holiday paying for the 33% of that. Midvale didn't have any changes. Going to the next page, Kearns. Again, that's reflect the 3 new officers and the 1 new civilian position. Brighton's new 1 new officer. And so those cover all the changes and additions that we made in the organization this year. Okay, the budget, what remained the same from when we originally started out. Again, revenues remain flat. The VEC budget increase is 109,000, which is 205,000 less than we originally anticipated. Health insurance increase is 8.3%. Again, that's shared with the employees at an 80-20 split. UPD's increase, share of that increase is approximately 370,000. The URS rate remained flat for the sworn and decreased 1% for civilian. That's a savings of about 60,000. Wages and benefits are based on actual amount, not averages. That is a challenge because that's constantly changing, and we're trying to stay up with that. Making sure that when one officer moves from one precinct and goes to another, we try to catch that. So that's a constant change that we're trying to update and hopefully not have too big of an impact on the budgets. This does include a 5% overall increase, 2.5% market adjustment, and a 2.5% cost of living increase. Again, this is based on the 70-20-10 shared service formula, which is 70% cases, 20% population, and 10% property valuation. And those do have the most updated numbers. However, we do have to update the cases for the 3-year average. And then the first round of cuts in the amount of 563,000 are reflected in this budget. Okay. What has changed in our second round of cuts, shared services cut 95,000 out of their budget. You can see by line item there where those 200 where there's came from, 200 in internal affairs, 28.9 in professional services training, 17,000 in the firearms range unit, 45,000 in risk management insurance, and that's because we will be contracting with a different company. So that could actually go up once we know when we'll be changing that contract. But for right now, at a minimum, we are saving 45,000 on that. And then also we cut 4,000 in the finance HR legal division. For the precincts overall, that needs to be corrected. I apologize. Kearns did not cut originally. Those were those positions that hadn't been approved in Kearns yet. They now are in there, so I'll need to change that number. We did cut 78,300 in Magna, 59,005 in Mill Creek, and 9,900 in Holiday, and 21,500 in Midvale. And then the following pages are just a detail of where those cuts came from, both in shared services, and then in the following page where those cuts came from each of the precincts. Okay. The next page is the shared service formula. So basically what I wanted to show here was the difference, what the number of cases, what the number was for population, and what the number was for tax value. It looks like a busy schedule, but you follow the first table that tells you what the numbers were this year. The middle table tells you what those numbers were last year, and the bottom table tells you what the differences were between this year and last year. That will be updated and sent to you once we get the 3-year average cases updated. So overall, for the decrease from the preliminary budget, the total budget is 66.65 million. That will not change. It's a 1.57 million decrease from the preliminary. The city's share of that is 38.92 and 38.92 million, which is 58.39%. So Lisa's share is 27.73 or 41.61%. Total increase is 2.9 million, almost 3 million. 1.6 million came from precincts, 1.37 million came from the shared services. And then for the shared services, a breakdown of where those increases came from. So 547,000 came from wages, 36,000 from overtime, 276,000 in benefits, 9.3 in travel and training, 49.5 in fuel and vehicle maintenance, and 454,000 in operations. Okay. The overall budget rates, I don't think we want to go through those because those are going to change when I do the 3-year average for the cases. Okay. And then again, this first one is where we were when we presented the preliminary budget. We were at 7.01% overall, an increase there. Then we went to the PBIM. At that point, we had cut it down to 5.66%. At that time, the board told us that we needed to get to 5 and below. And so now we are at the tentative budget and we are at 4.7% for the total overall PBIM. That will not change. The overall numbers will not change, just the allocations once we do the 3-year average on the cases. And then for the following page, it's the same thing for Slavisa. Those numbers will not change. And still ongoing, we are waiting for the finalized contract on the new building. We will continue updating new hires and changes in personnel transfers throughout the departments. We do have a projected preliminary startup building cost. We have a placeholder of 1.4 million in there. 315,000 of that will be paid for by the current year budget, what we have remaining in the budget for this year. We will be calculating estimated net incomes for each precinct and the general fund so we can get fiscal year-end fund balances. Currently, right now, with the estimated fund balance as it is, we are looking at having 899,000 available after the 8.5% minimum. And that completes the tentative budget.
I have a quick point of clarification. So if we adopt this tentative budget today, does that eliminate the need for a special meeting that we discussed? Because then we can just adopt the final budget as presented in our next meeting.
So actually, the way I read the statute is you just accept it, and that it is something that is the discussion where it can be modified would be in the June meeting because that's the final meeting. So we still need a special meeting anyway, and we could put this on an agenda to discuss, but it's been presented today and accepted by the board through, I guess, motion to accept rather than adopt, but it's essentially the same thing. So no, we would not need action on the budget other than knowing that we're going to be filing the new allocation formula with you. And then in the June meeting, it would be adopted with the correct allocation formula.
So you're saying we would still need a special meeting before the end of May?
We would to discuss the review and approve the lease. And that could be electronic only, or that could be as a single item. Or if you desire discussion on the allocation formula changes, we could do it then, or we could do it in June.
So since we are going to have a special meeting to talk about a lease, I hope, anyway, I think it's far more transparent for the public to actually adopt the tentative budget with the changes to the allocation formula on the 3-year rolling average at that special meeting so that that's out to the public and they understand what we're going to be adopting when we get to June.
So what I would suggest is today we accept the budget as having been filed. And then that we can bring the question of the allocation changes to the board to approve those specifically. But in terms of the budget, the way I read the statute is, as Mayor Gettles has indicated, is that this has to be accepted today as the regularly scheduled meeting. I know that's a little confusing, but the way I read the statute is simply it says filed and with the board. Acceptance is sort of a way to acknowledge it's been filed. The approval actually isn't until June and the final meeting.
So, Mr. Chair, Jeff Silverstream, I'll make a motion that we acknowledge receipt of the tentative budget and that we schedule a further special board meeting to adopt the tentative budget before the end of May in conjunction with a meeting that we're going to hold to discuss a potential lease.
Do we need to come out of public hearing?
Yeah, I think we need to, ask for public.
Any other comments before we take a motion to come out to close this public hearing? Have a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to close the public hearing on the 2025-2026 tentative budget.
Second, Gettle.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mayor Silverstream.
Now I'll make the motion I just made, which basically we acknowledge the receipt of this tentative budget. We hold a special meeting to adopt the tentative budget before the end of May in conjunction with our special meeting to consider a lease.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
And just so I believe that complies with the statute. I think that by filing and acknowledging acceptance, we've complied with the statute. And in terms of adopting it, it's not required, but it's certainly something that can go forward.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Our next item of business is to approve the April 24th, 2025 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I motion that we approve the April 24th, 2025 UPD Board Meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Next item of business, upcoming meetings.
So should we try to find a date and see if we can set that special meeting now?
You have a suggestion?
I would propose we meet on Thursday, May 29th at 9 a.m. here.
You'll be in the building, Mayor.
We'll be in the building.
That works for me as well.
Works for me.
There's a meeting in Orem regarding some of the new, I don't know, it was data privacy. I can't remember which one it is, but it's, yeah, I'll be attending that, so we'll be able to make that meeting then. Yeah, it's all day. It's like 8 to 4.
What meeting is it?
Sorry, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of it. It had something to do with some of the changes that were made in this recent legislation, though.
Did we, I do have an event that day as well for UTA. So if it could be sometime in the afternoon, that would be.
And I can't do it in the afternoon. What about that Wednesday, the 28th at 9?
That works for me.
That would work for me too.
Is that good for you?
That does not work for me. I'm sorry. I could meet at 10.
Maybe we could send around a poll or something to the members so that we're not all up here.
So let's just check Friday. I have a conflict at 10. What about the 30th?
I'm available all day on the 30th.
The 30th at 9 here? Okay, I make a motion that we set a special board meeting on Friday, May 30th at 9 a.m. here at Mill Creek City Hall to consider the tentative budget and potential lease for UPD.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Other meetings coming up. Thursday, May 22nd is the award ceremony in this building on the 6th floor. On Thursday, June 19th, we have a UPD board meeting in this building, in this chamber. And on Thursday, July 17th, we have a UPD board meeting in this room, in this building, in this chamber. That concludes our business today, unless there's any other business from the board. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Those are hard meetings.